Welcome to a beautiful morning at a place called Red Rocks. It is not quite sunrise because we couldn't be bothered getting up that early, but give or take, sunrise on the summer solstice. And this place is of significance because it's where the River Dee, behind me here, meets Liverpool Bay. I'm sure hydrologists and oceanographers will have a definition of where a river ends and the sea starts, but if you look on a map, this is the very corner that to a layman looks like that. And today, because it's the longest day of the year, my dad and I are going to follow the River Dee from Mouth, which is here, to its source in Snowdonia. We're going to try and cross every bridge that's safe and legal to do so on the way, and that'll come up a bit later, and hopefully have a nice day out. Since I've not been well, it's not the original summer solstice ride I had in mind, but it'll be hopefully a grand route nonetheless. So enough of my yapping, and hopefully we'll get on with it. Although if you want a local cycling point of interest, I believe Chris Boardman used to own that house, so that's nice. He talks about that in his autobiography. Right, on with our day. So to expand just a little bit on that plan, I wanted to ride the Dee from Mouth to Source, crossing every bridge on the way alternately, so never double backing, and riding as close to the river as I could at all times, crossing every bridge that's safe and legal to do so, and that got us in some hot water later on, as you'll see. In the distance there, you can see the very first bridge, the widest point of the Dee that's bridged, and that's the Connors Quay Bridge. I don't know what it's officially called, I'll put that on screen, but some locals call it the Bridge to Nowhere, because a bridge around here that doesn't go up to the A55 is just madness. It just dumps you out on the coast in North Wales, nowhere near the road that you'd want to be near. It's not a suspension bridge, as you may think from looking at it. That's a cable-stayed bridge, and even though it is 4 lanes of traffic and national speed limit, dual carriageway, so yeah, these cars can go 70 miles an hour. We don't actually mind riding it, it feels very safe, and because it's the Bridge to Nowhere, there's barely any traffic on it ever. So this early in the morning, 6 a.m, no stress at all, riding over here. And it feels, you know, quite nice riding with the sun behind us, and that low sun when you get up this early is always fantastic. Moving swiftly on, we turn straight left off that bridge and down through Connors Quay and over the bridge that I've probably ridden more than any other over the Dee, and that is Hawarden Bridge, railway bridge. We're nowhere near Hawarden, this is in Shotton. Don't know why it's called Hawarden Bridge, but it is. And it's got this lovely cycle path segregated next to it, and this is really my gateway to Wales. And it was just lovely. Riding this part, this time of the morning, beautiful still river next to me. You know, it's been really hard making this video to sort of hero the river itself as we go, because when you cross all these bridges, it's quite hard to see it from my camera. So I do apologise if this is a terribly boring video. This is the Jubilee lift bridge, or the Blue Bridge, if you prefer, that's what we call it. And it's sort of industrial, monolithic thing that used to rise so boats could pass through, but no longer does. Something I noticed as we cycled down is rivers sort of alternate between countryside and urbanisation so quickly that a lot of this route's grotty and a lot of it's beautiful. This is where we got into some hot water. Please don't flag this to YouTube as dangerous. This is the A494, I think. This was the bit I was most scared of. I wasn't convinced we could legally ride our bikes over it to do this bridge, but after some research, we could. So we decided it was early enough in the morning that we would. Driving this road, I was not delighted. This is really the road that connects North Wales and the A55 to the M56, which is the main motorway to Manchester. So you can imagine, from one of the biggest ports to Ireland to one of the biggest cities in the UK, that road gets busy. But seriously, we assessed it and we thought it was safe, and even though lorries were passing us, I was amazed at how respectful everyone was. Not once did I feel in danger on there. I was like a silly little boy shitting my pants a little bit, and we will not be doing that again. the lengths I go to for YouTube, hey? That's for you guys. So we sort of wiggled round and we end up going along the River Dee here, down towards our next bridge and towards Chester. I love this footpath, and we're so lucky to have this facility around us, and we get to cross our next bridge, which is specially for pedestrians and cyclists. So, you know, it really is alternating between really horrendous bridges that you would not want to cross and fantastic pieces of infrastructure like this. There was a real sense of occasion doing this. I know I've been quite whingy about being ill, and I've had so much time off my bike, and I just can't do the things I want to do at the moment. This ride is not what I wanted to be doing on the Solstice, because I had grander things planned. And really 2023 has just been shaken up by a relatively minor illness, but I'm glad that me and my dad did this. We just got to have loads of fun on our bikes, do a stupid bike ride, like we should, just have a laugh. This is the first bridge that caused us some problems in terms of whether we should ride it or not, because it's actually footpath only, so you're not supposed to take bikes down it. So we pushed them and carried them, and that's a recurring theme. I wanted to cross every bridge we could, and you can perfectly legally cross a footpath bridge carrying your bike, so we got around that one. It was lovely getting into Chester this time of morning. You know, I think Chester's a beautiful city. And because I've been ill and because it's not really what I had in mind, I felt no pressure to try and set a great time or anything. Me and Dad were just riding and enjoying it. Grosvenor Bridge is where I realised the flaw with making a video of this is that bridges look shit from the top. Yeah. This is such a magnificent bridge, and I'm just showing you a road. So that's a recurring theme, I'm afraid. It was fantastic to do this ride, and I loved the idea and the execution, and yeah, the grand sense of occasion. Lots of videos of road, sorry guys. So the old Dee Bridge coming into Chester now again. This is a very pretty bridge. There's been a bridge here since about 1200, but this bridge isn't that old. It's not the oldest bridge we'll come across by some margin, but it does look, you know, very medieval, as you'll see. It's 7:30. We're in Chester. We've done all the scary bits. Now it's nice bridges like the one behind me, and like the suspension bridge that you probably can't see up there. So far, speed's pretty good, pretty chilled out. Time for a rice roll to keep us going. Never cycled this bridge either, so I was pretty pumped about it. It's a great looking bridge, look at that. It dominates the waterline here in the heart of Chester, and it looks lovely. If you don't know, if you're new to the channel, or you only sometimes see some of my stuff, you won't necessarily know that I am an absolute bridge nerd, hence this. If it's not your cup of tea, fair play, I understand. There is a bridge over the Dee just down there. Legally, we can cycle that road. For the sake of not dying today, we've chosen not to. And here's an acknowledgement that is a bridge we're missing. This is a motorway until about a mile that way, and then we're allowed to ride it, but we'd rather not. Right. So yeah, that was the main motorway down Wirral and then the main road through Wales. We decided not to ride that. And then sadly, Aldford Iron Bridge. This is like in the estate of the Duke of Westminster, but it would have been about 3 miles of walking for us to legally do it, and I'm not walking muddy footpaths in my cleats as much as I love you guys. I'll ride a stupid 70-mile-an-hour road, but I won't. I will not walk. That's a hard limit I've got. This is Brownbill Bridge, top pick. Holt-Farndon Bridge. I could not do this justice. It's got a horrible water main down it. My camera's not in the right position. It's a magnificent bridge. It's beautiful. It's understated compared to the other star of the show you'll see later on. I love it. It puts a smile on my face every time I ride this way. So yeah, for every great bridge, there's a shit bridge. Here's the A road, the next one down. these are sort of roads that, you know, it's fine, but I would never pick to ride, and I won't ride them again. And the joy of this activity is that it gave me and my dad a sense of occasion to riding roads we normally ride. So I'd really recommend, you know, come up with a gimmick, come up with an excuse to enjoy your local area differently. It was fantastic. And to anyone who's ridden the cobbles in Flanders, I doff my hat to you, because just riding those cobbles was horrible enough for me, and they're pretty small and pretty tidy. So yeah, not delighted about that bridge here in Bangor on Dee, not Bangor the city.
Good morning. Good morning.
I put that clip of that man in because I don't know what he was laughing about. He just drove down the street. He's looking at my dad and he goes, ha 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 ha. I thought, why? We were 100k in and we stopped to buy some water to refill our bottles. That man thought it was hilarious. Fair play. Jolly Welsh man saying Borada. Come down to Overton Bridge now. We both forgot that this was here. We both turned our cameras on last second and went, oh, that's a bridge. Yeah, camera on. And it's an underwhelming one. This is the only bit of the course that I hadn't ridden before. Just a few roads around here. And actually, the views get quite nice. It's only a little bit of hill, but because you get the Cheshire Plain behind you. Sorry, I didn't mean to 3-pixel my dad there. He had his e-bike just on one only to try and make sure it lasted the full course, which was 290k. So, you know, he had to be sparing with the battery. We also chose to miss this bridge. It's not necessarily as bad as some of the ones we actually rode, but you see, if you drove it, you'd understand. It's incredibly narrow. We would be holding stuff up or risking close passes. It would have been stupid. We're now at a place called Newbridge, Llangollen-ish. And it said road closed, and I was shitting myself. Then you see on the left, we wiggled through, which is a naughty thing cyclists do, and the road had totally subsided. But luckily, not near the bridge, and, you know, they clearly put gaps in these bollards because they knew cyclists were going to go through, and we fit on half the road. So, the joy of being on a bike, what's the point of being on a small vehicle if you don't use it to your advantage and enjoy it? And this was a real favourite of mine, just because the road was closed. It was so peaceful. We stopped in the middle, and you get to look at the Dee, and by this point, it's such a lovely river. This bit of the Dee Valley is magnificent. It's still and serene, the sort of river that you just want to dip in or row on or enjoy sort of the nature on the banks. You know, I'm not trying to get poetic, and you must know that I'm not a poet at all. I'm not very articulate, but it was lovely. It was really lovely there. In a second, you see me scare a horse. Oh, I hadn't quite turned my camera on, but I basically picked my bike up and a horse was right the other side of this wall. It thought I was trying to kill it. This goes out to Mick Bookoff. You once said what a great cameraman my dad is, so I think he's tried to prove you wrong by filming mostly a post rather than a viaduct. Sorry, Dad. I should say, if it wasn't for Dad Cam, I'd have barely any footage of anything useful. Dad did a great job. Like, over Pontcysyllte, I basically filmed nothing but my own crotch. My dad took his camera off and filmed the view and filmed the drop down to the river. This is the best bridge, objectively, along the River Dee. I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. Pontcysyllte, UNESCO have recognised it. Thomas Telford's finest work. It's sensational and fucking terrifying. It is so high. There's no fence on the other side. I know you'd have to just go across the canal, but look at what a drop it is. I swear to God I could feel it wobble in the wind as we were walking over there. There were just a few times where I started to think about what was beneath me. And let's be frank, I'm prone to being scared. I am a wimp, but still. It's magnificent. I'd really, really recommend checking out Pontcysyllte. I had to edit out about 5 minutes just of my own crotch shots there. So we come along the Shropshire Union Canal here. This bridge is not over the Dee, but nice little bridge over the Shropshire Union Canal. Might as well throw that in while we're here. Hey guys. Now this is a bridge I've filmed a lot before, in from Cysyllte. Mwnwgl-y-llyn, sorry, get my Welsh pronunciations right. And the best thing about it is, to the right, you can see Pontcysyllte beautifully. And again, yeah, very nice area. On these rides, I always get a bit funny about stopping too much, so I tried to say to my dad, let's make it as quick as possible. I would have loved to have done more of a feature or got better shots of these bridges, but we'd be out all day if you're stopping everyone, 30 times as I've counted up here. This was a new little road, just to make sure we went along the river. It would have been so much quicker to just go up to the main road and cycle this main road all the way to Llangollen. But, you know, it's a day of celebrating the River Dee, but not like in a knobby way. Just consciously enjoying the river we sort of passively appreciate normally. Just at the Canal Side Cafe, Llangollen. About to go over the next bridge, somewhere down there. But first, coffee and toast and jam, just to tide us over a bit. It's not exactly on the nutrition plan, but we got plenty of stuff to keep us going as we ride. Just needed something else to fuel. You get to that point on these rides where you're just sick of sweet stuff. We thought about a cake. The cakes here are very nice, but I'd rather have some toast. Right, clouds are looking a bit ominous. There's a chance of rain in the next hour. Hopefully not. We'll see. Regulars of the channel will probably recognise that cafe by now, and indeed all of Llangollen. This is, you know, back into my stomping grounds, well and truly. And this bridge I've filmed many an intro on, for the video where I slagged off the Horseshoe Pass, for the video where I rode up Llangollen, among others. Llangollen's great, and that will come up as we carry on. So there was very little riding my bike around Berwyn station. This was probably my favourite bit of the entire ride. It was just like, well, we're out for a day to have a laugh, so we're just exploring, and to cross this other bridge, we have to do this. I've never done stuff like this before. Felt like me and my dad were just out, like, being kids, you know, exploring and messing about. Okay, really boring kids who want to look at suspension bridges and canal pump houses, but, you know, kids all the same. So this is called Chainbridge. I think this speaks to the Victorian opulence of this valley, that this was built originally to carry coal from one side of the river to the other, this suspension bridge, in 1817, and now is just used for access from the steam train railway to the hotel on the other side. It's fantastic, and there's little gems that if you're a massive loser like me, you can just appreciate all the way down this section of valley. It's cool. I'd love to be a tourist around here. So once again, I've had to edit out a shitload of crotch shots. And me and my dad had to push our bikes through the hotel. It literally comes out at the hotel. It's crazy. But lots of fun.
Source of the Dee yet, but you have reached the source of the Shropshire Union Canal. Have you not done this thing? Oh, might be worth a little detour. Yeah. So there's the bridge we're going to go over. So we could go up those steps, but we're going to go around. Because the Horseshoe Falls is interesting engineering. That's the pump house, right, that pumps water into the canal from the River Dee. But the River Dee was modified here. Okay. We need to card right.
So Dad's just said, do you want a 2-minute detour? And I was sort of like, oh, okay. But this is like an engineering marvel, bit of history here. The source of the Shropshire Union Canal from the River Dee. So since we're doing the River Dee in its entirety, it would be rude not to include this incredibly impressive piece of engineering. I couldn't tell you which of the great engineers made it. Probably Telford, he did most of the stuff along here. But it's famous as Horseshoe Falls. And my dad was just explaining to me, it's this like pretty waterfall there. But it's designed to push water this way through this pump house and becomes the canal, the Shropshire Union Canal, which may or may not be the canal that goes over Pontcysyllte, the aqueduct. I may be making facts up there, or it may be a really good fact, I don't know. But this is very pretty, well worth the detour. Probably time for us to get on, but there's just loads to see here. It's really cool. Llangollen is a brilliant place. There's so much good stuff around here. And that rain never materialised either. Fantastic. I keep saying I need to treat my luck with a bit more respect, and then riding stuff like this on it. We were just having fun. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have been cycling here. This is like our naughty antics for the day. Yeah, my 30s are wild. My naughty antics is cycling footpaths with my 61-year-old dad. So legs were still feeling good at this point, so let's talk about cycling for a sec. I felt really strong still, and I was really happy just sitting pacing, I don't know, 250 watts, just on the flat, keeping ticking over. So although I keep saying I'm not in the shape I want to be in, I was really, I guess, tentatively starting to feel positive about my own health, and I'm recording this having just had another 5 days off with a stomach bug and being pretty glum about everything, but you know, I was getting there on a rebuild, which was nice. I've cut out a lot of us riding down the A5 because it's very boring, and I've even cut out the DPD van that tried to kill us here, even though I'm still quite bitter about it. And this is a bridge at the bottom of the Grim. What I'm upset about is because I'm alternating, you know, we're riding one side, crossing a bridge, riding the other side. I missed a lot of the Coach Road, which is a beautiful road to the far side of the A5, where stuff like this happens. Traffic jam in Wales, roads closed for sheep, and an amazing dog at the end. Just wait. The dog at the front came up to lick my leg for a bit, and then this dog comes past. So good. So we're coming into Carrog now, and I've mentioned Carrog before. We've been here before on my bike, if you watched a video that barely anyone watched. It's a lovely little place. A lot of people come camping here because the river's really wide and it's got a nice bank. So if you've got kids, it's good for, like, you know, paddling and skimming stones, and the pub on the hill that you can see behind. Lovely beer garden, sit and have a pint. It's not like the most exciting place, but it's just a really lovely bit of the world with lots and lots of campsites. Probably on the floodplain, but not a concern. And just down the road is Corwen, which is a slightly bigger town, so you've got amenities, and Corwen's where we are now on this very unglamorous bridge that I couldn't even find a name for with some Googling. I've forgotten. God, my formatting's all over the place on these. They should all be something out of 30 or just bridge numbers. The, like, publication scientist in me is getting antsy. Oh, Christ. Right. Bridge 23 out of 30. The A5 bridge. Again, near Corwen. I have a thing about the A5. I'm always like, oh, Dad, we shouldn't ride that. That's the A5 because it's like the main road round here. Look at it. There's a few cars. It's very silly. So that bridge was nicer than I thought. If you saw under it, it's very old. Stone bridge. A bit like the one we're about to come to at Cynwyd. I don't think I told you on the voiceover, the oldest bridge, as far as I'm aware, along this route is the Holt-Farndon bridge, which I think is from 1610, the actual bridge as it stands now. A lot of these bridges, there's been bridges there since, you know, before history was recorded, really, but 1610, so far as I can tell, is the oldest standing bridge on the Dee at Holt-Farndon. And a lot of them are from the 1600s. I say a lot of them, a few of them are from the 1600s. This bridge was so middle of nowhere that I couldn't find a name for it, and I couldn't even make a name up myself, because it's kind of near Lllandrillo, but it's not. It's like 5 miles away. And it was lovely, it was beautiful. We were getting into the heat of the day at that point, so the joy of being next to this marvellous, serene river, in the heat, taking a break, it's just, you know, that's my idea of a good way to spend time. And then we get back on our bikes and get our head down and work really hard, dripping sweat into our eyes. So rolling into Bala, and I think it was about 1 o'clock at this point as we rolled into Bala, and that's almost the end of my route. The lake to my right is the largest natural lake in Wales, Llyn Tegid, and it is not quite the source of the Dee, but it's very early on the River Dee. There's a bridge over it. Yeah, it's just a boring road. There's the lake. The River Dee feeds this from its source on the Black Mountain, I believe, or Black Hill. But lots of other rivers do as well, but the Dee is the longest one behind it. So we're behind the lake now in Llanuwchllyn, and really the river's getting to be just a little trickle. We have followed it this far. We had to come over this bridge and we had to break the rules and go back on ourselves because it's just someone's driveway. It doesn't go anywhere. So I've had to come back over it even though that's against the rules. Sorry guys. But look how little the river is at this point. It's hard to believe when I was at Red Rocks at 5 AM or whatever it was that this is the same river. I kept thinking I should have picked up a stone from the beach and done like some wanky symbolism of throwing the stone into the river at its source. Well, I said to my dad we should have thrown a stick in when we get to the source and raced it home, and he said that wouldn't have been a race, which is true. And this is it. This is the end. Well, this is as far as we could go anyway. This is as far as we go. It's not quite the source, it's not the spring that the river comes out of, but it would be 3k at 10% on this private forestry owned gravel road, which I'll give myself the cop-out that I said all the bridges that we can safely and legally do, and it would just about be trespass. It would be absolutely fine, but we can't be bothered for two tiny little bridges like this. But this is very serene, lovely spot to finish our quest to the end of the Dee. Feels a bit like a pagan ritual of sorts, like paying homage to the river god on the solstice, riding from mouth to source of the water course we live by. But it's just been fun and interesting at times, sketchy at times, but generally very nice. So that's a ride over. Not sure how we're going to get home. Slowly. Oh well. If you've made it this far, thank you, and I apologise that it has been relatively dry, this video. This is the ride in its entirety, 290k, average of 28 kph, give or take. Pretty happy with that. Relatively flat for a Nick ride, but still nearly 3,000 metres of elevation. Not flat by any means. It was a real treat to do this, you know, having been down about missing out on summer, and I know no one asked, but I was in significant amounts of pain. My infection has just not gone away. It's just the same. I'm really struggling to know what to do about it at this point. But it was all manageable, and I'm really glad I got out to do this and just make the most of it. And for me, the checklist of checking off all the bridges on the Dee, thank you to my good friend Tom Oxton for suggesting I do my own themed rides rather than doing like the Band of Climbers ride. He said, come up with your own thing, do a load of bridges or something, and that's what sparked this, so that was great. Thank you very much for watching. You know, apologies again, it's a bit rubbish, wasn't it? But I really enjoyed the ride. I've enjoyed making the video. See you in the next one.